Happy Friday, everybody. Thank you so much for downloading or streaming the Be Our Guest podcast. Today, we've got a fun show for you. We're going to take you on a virtual trip down to Walt Disney World as Pam and Scott join me, and we take it back to the basics. We discuss those small moments, those little things that really make us fall in love with our Disney trips time and time again. From sitting at a table at Small World, and looking down at Small World from Pinocchio's Village House, to the Disney transportation system, to just reading a book poolside at your favorite Disney resort, to waking up early and taking a stroll around your Walt Disney World resort as you watch all the other families get ready for their day and wonder, what's their story? What are they doing today? We give those moments that we really cherish, that you really don't talk about or read about in a guidebook or see on a vlog, but makes the Disney vacation what it is for us. So come along on the journey with us today, and we'll take you to Walt Disney World right along with us. Don't forget, today's podcast brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you plan your next Disney adventure for no additional cost to you. Check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link when you shop online. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And thank you very much to our Patreon supporters. You guys keep us on the air. We cannot do this without you. You can support us as well, just $5 a month. And for that support, we give you a bonus show every week called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/beourguestpodcast.
Ready to take a trip to the world? You found the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. This is where your memories come front and center on our podcast stage.
Welcome to episode 2630 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from beourguestpodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Friday to you. Hope you're getting ready for a great weekend, as it is, I know Scott doesn't want to talk about this, but it is championship weekend in the NFL. And, we should probably talk football. Let's don't. So we're just going to talk Disney. We're going to have a good time. I don't have a dog in the fight either, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. College football's over, so I'm good until August. So let's talk some Disney. Let's have a good time, and we're going to have a fun time with the crew today. Scott and Pam are here, and I like these kind of shows. We're just going to kind of hang out and take it back to the basics. Take it back to not necessarily where it all started for us, but kind of in the spirit of why we fell in love with Walt Disney World, why we fell in love with the cruise line, maybe why we fell in love with Disneyland. I mean, I didn't go to Disneyland until just a couple of years ago, but I still, I'm going out there again in less than a week, and I'm getting super excited for that experience again. So we're just going to talk about those basic things, not the big things necessarily, but sometimes those small moments that just make us say, man, I really do love these vacations. They're really special to us. We're going to have a good time, hopefully take you along for a little mental vacation, because there's nothing better when it's this cold in January in most places in the United States. So let's do it today. Joining me, Scotty G from up in Michigan over at Must See Adventures on YouTube. What's up, Scott? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Still just dealing with this cold. I love the state of Michigan. Our summers are gorgeous. Spring is great. Fall is great. But dang, do I hate the cloudy, gray, cold winters. And this is about the point where I'm just over it. So I need to go on a cruise soon, basically. I need to just see some sunshine here.
I think
really
you
soon.
are, actually.
I think I might be. Yeah, maybe that's why I planned that.
What's your countdown? Like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks or so, I think, something like that?
I'll be, from the time this is airing, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'll be on the Disney Wish again, excited to experience the Disney Wish. And the Disney Wish is great, because the way the itineraries are right now, and I know all three of us are this way, 3-night cruises are not our favorites, right? They're just gone as snap of the finger, but they work really well for weeks, for just a quick weekend taste, right? You just want to, it's like what I'm doing. I just want to escape Michigan for a weekend, see some green grass, some blue skies, feel some sunshine. The 3-night cruises, great for that. And so I'm really looking forward to that.
So let me ask you this. So you're taking, I think we've talked about this a little bit on the show, so it's not really a big secret. You're taking your in-laws kind of as a gift. And I know how you guys, you're very much like me. The anticipation is very much part of the experience. Getting ready extends the whole overall experience, because the 3 days, like you said, it's going to go it's so fast on a cruise. what are you doing at home to kind of amp up the excitement of the cruise and also to get your in-laws ready for their first DCL experience? They've cruised, but not DCL.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of like talking about what we want to do on the ship, talking about the dining, like maybe thinking about like a pirate costume because my father-in-law loves
Yeah.
pirates. Like
Oh,
every,
yeah.
every time we go on a trip, like not every time, but at least once a year, we buy him like a new Pirate of the Caribbean shirt, like at Magic Kingdom, So we talked about, well, do we just all wear Pirates of the Caribbean shirts or something on Pirate Night? So we're just doing some small planning like that. So it's just super exciting. Another cool thing is there's a lizard. BRGS podcast lizard Neil is getting married on the ship.
We talked about that down at Marathon Weekend. I said, guess who's going to be at your wedding? He's like, I know. I was like, how about that? Yeah,
So what are the chances? So that's going to be cool. So we get the experience, like we've been invited, so we're going to get to watch the wedding, So like there's been thoughts about that. And like, since this was last minute, it's not a BRGS podcast cruise. I don't have to worry about fish extenders, which is great. Because sometimes that is one of the most stressful things about a cruise.
It is.
Katie asked me the other day if she could start a fish extender group for our podcast cruise.
Who was?
Katie.
Oh,
Katie Nardella. I said,
yeah.
I said, you can. I said, don't let my wife catch wind of that. She'll punch you in the nose. But
no, they're fun. They're fun. They're just can be a little stressful.
They can.
And then like because we have like it works for us because we do the same thing every year basically, so it works out really well. But then it's like, dang, you need to bring like another whole suitcase just for like fish extenders. Like the traveling gets a little challenging.
Yeah, I would have no vessels to drink liquids out of if it wasn't for the gardeners because they're the bomb.com. And I take them on my other cruises when they're not podcast cruises and everybody compliments. Like, where'd you get that? Scott Gardner. Okay. Also, Pam Forrester's here. She's from the Magic for Less Travel co-owner and patiently waiting for Mike and Scott to shut up and get her introduced. What's up, Pam? Hello.
Pam likes cruising too. So.
Oh, absolutely.
I do. I know. It's like I continually look at different like cruises, different rates, like whatnot. So especially like everyone else, once the weather gets cold, you start thinking, why am I here? Right. And the good news is you can, sometimes plan, especially with World and Land, you can plan sort of a last minute vacation and hopefully get a special or whatnot. A cruise is not quite so easy because it's better off to plan those way far in advance. But every now and then you can. And like we have that kids get half off special on the cruise and stuff like that. But yes, I love cruising. There's nothing that makes me as relaxed as I am when I'm cruising.
Is there? I know. Seriously, for folks that haven't cruised, and we are a theme park podcast. I mean, but we also talk a ton of cruising here because I will be, and I think we all three are in agreement. There is no better feeling than when you step onto a cruise ship because the entire cruise is in front of you. Like the suit, and this is my personality and not your guys' personality, but like you wake up day one, day two, you're still relaxed, but I mean, you realize, okay, like, 20% of my cruise is gone. Like I don't dwell on that, but I mean, it does come up a little bit in my brain. Like when you're going through the threshold and they're saying your name and you first get on that ship, like you haven't even had that first meal in Cabanas or Marceline Market or what have you, wherever you're going, sitting down in Enchanted Garden or whatever, everything, every possibility is in front of you. All your port adventures, all of your tastings, all of your shows, you haven't even seen your cabin yet. It's right. God, because you've been looking forward to it for so long. Like it is just the best feeling in the world. There's nothing better for me.
It's the best. And that's the downside of that 3-night itinerary I was just talking about, because you'll go to bed and then you're like, well, I have to pack tomorrow.
Because I just did that right with bed. I know. It was crazy.
But you know what? A 3-night cruise, I'll say this all the time, is better than a 0
night. It is 100%.
That is very true.
100%. Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah. I'll be sitting here punching in the face cold and you'll be sitting on the deck of a cruise ship. So 100%. All right. So today we're just going to kind of casually sit around, talk a little Disney with you guys, keep you company here over the weekend, and came up with this idea of a show. Again, like I said on Wednesday, I had this great moment when I was down over Marathon Weekend. And again, I had a really good morning because I went to Gaston's Tavern that morning and had one of the big cinnamon rolls and Coke Zeros and just kind of chilled out there and did some attractions. It was a really cold morning that day. So I went in and did, I was trying to just like stay, really, it was a cold morning. So I went in and did Philhar Magic, which I hadn't done in forever because like I just kind of want to get out of the cold wind. And I was like, that's a good show. I haven't seen it. Pam loves Philhar Magic, but I hadn't done it in a while. And I was like, that's because I hadn't seen the Coco edition. That was fun.
Oh, I love that edition. So
yeah.
good.
I went down.
It was one of those shows where they didn't take anything away. They added to, which was awesome.
I was trying to figure out, did they not take anything out at all? That's what I was trying to think of. They didn't take anything out. Okay, because I knew Peter Pan was still in there. The Aladdin scene was still in there. I was trying to think, what did they?
It was just an addition to the show, which was great.
That's a miracle for Disney lately. Okay, I also did like Winnie the Pooh. Like when I did it like with you on the phone that night, I was like, I hadn't done this in ages either, and that was kind of fun. It was kind of weird that I was doing it by myself, but it was kind of fun. But I just went around, and by the time I made it down for lunch, I was like, I want to try something I haven't tried in forever. And since I was solo, I did a ton of counter service. The only 2 table service meals I did the entire marathon weekend, I did Rick's. I walked up to the bar at Rick's twice. That was it. Everything else was counter service. And so I did Pinocchio's Village House. I just kind of looked on the app, and I saw they had a chicken parm sandwich, and that picture looked really good. So I was like, well, let's see if the picture looks like the real thing. And it was rocking. It was so good. And the whole reason I picked it was because I wanted to get one of those tables. It was cold, and I wanted to get a table by Small World, kind of just chill out, look down, and that's exactly what it was. I got the table. Now, if you can picture, if you've been inside Pinocchio's Village House, there's those tables that are kind of in the main dining room that are right along the window there for Small World. Well, there's actually one table that's kind of up by the front door. As you come in from Fantasyland, from like the main thoroughfare across from Peter Pan, there's a table right there as you come in that actually does still overlook Small World. It's a smaller table. It's like a table for 2. And so I sat there because there was nobody up there. I sat there and I could see down into Small World. I could see out into Fantasyland, that thoroughfare over by Peter Pan, and just sat there and enjoyed this great sandwich, great little skinny fries. Just messed around on my phone for a little bit, kind of like looked at my pictures from the race that morning, and just tweeted with people, talked to people, chatted with my FaceTime my girls back home. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is kind of awesome. Like you could hear the background loop, the yodeling or whatever out in Fantasy.
I love that loop.
Like
maybe after like 30 minutes, it might get a little.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was okay for a while, but it was the essence of like, because it was fun to see people like, because you saw people like in line for Small World. Like, it's funny watching people in line, right? Because people are doing all kinds of crazy stuff in line. But then you saw people on the boats, and you would see, like just like big old dudes like Bubba, like on Small World. They're having, and they're just like selfie in it, and you would think they were the toughest guy in the world, but they're on this Small World boat and they're going under that thing, the happiest cruise that ever sailed sign. And they're just, you would think like this guy probably rides a Harley, and is probably like an iron worker. But right now, dude, he's living his best life, getting ready to see 8,000 dolls dancing the hula here for the next 20 minutes. It was, it's just one of those things like, this is like, it's so great. I'm sitting here, and I think it was like a Friday morning, like Friday at 11:30, I'm eating a chicken parm sandwich with some fries and just watching everybody like being kids, like riding on a boat. And Walt Disney, developed this for the World's Fair back in the 60s. And here it is, 2025, and it's still going strong. It's bringing people together. And I love this. Like, I was just sitting there like, I love where I'm at right now. This is the bomb. And it was a small moment. This is why I go. Like, I wish I could have been there with my family. I wish I could have been there with Scott, Pam, all you guys. But I was living in the moment. I was there by myself, and it is what it is. But I was still having a good time by myself, and I loved it. So that was one of those things like, life's pretty good right now. So a small moment like that, it's kind of what I want to talk about today. Like, that's why I go back. I didn't eat a big fancy meal, chicken parm sandwich, watching people get on a boat and just live their best life while I was peering down and enjoying themselves. It was pretty cool. So Scott, what kind of things come to your mind when I kind of talk about that?
Well, I started thinking about because you kind of worded like basic things we love. And this is just something I've been doing for many years now at Walt Disney World. And that's the morning resort walk.
Yes.
Like I'll go on a run sometimes too. Like I love like getting a little jogging in the morning, but there's something about like just walking the resort grounds, and you could just feel like the energy for the day, right? You see like families, like you're just watching people do all these different things. Like there's a dad holding like 5 resort refillable mugs.
Yes.
You're just like, oh, that poor soul. Like I get him, like his family's getting ready and he's gonna get all the coffees or whatever. Good luck bringing that back to the room. And then you see like another family getting ready to go to the Skyliner or whatever. They've got their matching shirts on. And then you'll go to the food court. I'm kind of thinking like Pop Century almost here as I visualize this, but I love going to like the food court in the morning where I'm not in a hurry. I'm just relaxing. I'm not needing the road trip, but you just watch the whole dynamic of like what every people's doing. And like, my family love to ask this question, like, what's their story? Like what's that family up to today? Are they going to go to Epcot or what are they going to be doing?
Not to cut you off too, but I'm always like, I wonder, like, are they on day 2 of their vacation? Are they on day 7? Or did they just get, I'm exactly the same way. Like I always want to know what's their story. I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I just love and I don't know why, like the food court almost is like the best spot for that. Cause that's where like a lot of people are there, like, and there's just a lot happening. You'll see like lots of empty tables and chairs early on. The longer you sit, then they'll start filling and all that. And it's just like a fun way for me to start my day as I just see all these families and couples or whatever just starting their Walt Disney World day. And there's so many different paths they're all going to take, but I know they're just all going to have a great time. Well, most of them should have a great time.
We're going to say they have a great time because
we're all going to, yes.
There's many pitfalls in a Disney day, right?
Sometimes you can spot the person though, right? That's like a person that like just they're wearing a grumpy shirt or whatever it is. Like you can already tell, like, oh, they're starting off the day bad.
If you're wearing the most expensive day ever shirt, you're setting yourself up for trouble.
You're setting yourself up. Yeah.
Stop.
And they're with like 200 cheerleaders or something at a big table.
Hey,
they're
dude,
in trouble.
cheerleaders are okay. Sometimes.
I just love the morning at the resorts. It's just one of my favorite things. And I like rope dropping too. There'll be days where we're just hustling to quick get out there to the car or to the bus, but when you take those casual, slow mornings, there's just nothing like it.
You know what though? Speaking of that, I want to address that too. I bet you less than 10% of people have ever gotten up and enjoyed like a sunrise walking around a resort, which is a shame because it doesn't matter what resort you're at. The boardwalk, yacht club, beach club, just one lap around Crescent Lake, or like especially like Port Orleans, Riverside, French Quarter, walking along the Sassagoula. But Art of Animation and Pop Century walking around Hourglass Lake is one of the most beautiful sunrises. Caribbean Beach, the Riviera. Oh my gosh!
Like you can do them at all except like Animal Kingdom Lodge. I feel
Animal
like
Kingdom
that's
Lodge
the struggle
is a bummer. Yeah, that's a struggle. But you could sit on your, you can't really walk around. You got to look out on your. I mean, boo-hoo! You get to look out at the bajillion animals that are awesome. You just don't get to walk. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are so focused again on the parks that, but if you ever get the opportunity, one day out of your trip, get up early and just stroll. Because you're right, there's such a cool energy as the resort comes alive for the day. It's really cool. Pam, what about you? Where do you fall on this?
So it was so funny because we were actually planning sort of our next trip and thinking about what we want to do next time and wherever. And I just was like, as we're talking about all these things we want to do, you want to know what I didn't do is make park reservations. Like I haven't made them yet and we're coming up on it. So it's funny how your priorities sort of change in that. And we were talking about all the things we wanted to see and do. And I think for me, one of the first things that happens when we get there is we're at a resort, right? We check into our resort. And no matter what resort it is, I have this moment when we walk into the lobby and you sort of like relax because you're there, right? You don't have to, you're done schlepping your luggage because you've given it to Bell Services at that point. You're there. And I love the feeling of a good hotel lobby. Mm-hmm. Like I like smelling it. I like hearing all the hustle and bustle. I like, especially like at the Yacht and Beach Club and so many different ones. There's so many different ones.
As soon as you said that, I smelled Yacht and Beach Club. I'm like,
no. Yes. Right. You can smell it. But there are these great little seating areas where you can sit and sort of watch people as they're sort of like going through the lobby. Like you said, Scott, whether it's the morning or the afternoon or the evening, it's really fun to do. So I love the ones at both the Yacht and Beach Club. I love the Grand Floridian lobby because there's so much going on there. I think Animal Kingdom and Wilderness Lodge both have really great lobbies. But there's some great ones too, like the moderate resorts. I think even just sitting there, you can sort of see it at French Quarter. There's that sort of fountain where you can watch all of that. At Riverside, they have, what part of what used to be the old story of Riverside, where you would go and exchange these, I think they were called Dixies, right? Where you exchange that. There was that whole thing, go to like bank tellers and do that. So you could do that. Caribbean Beach, that lobby got redone a few years ago and it's fantastic. But I just love the feel of that because you see people coming in and they're excited, right? They're excited for the vacation, and little kids are like, Mom, look at that. And, you know, Dad, look at that. That part's really cool. You see people on their way to the parks. You see people coming back from the parks and sort of talking about, you know, their experiences, and they're excited about it. And you see people coming back from the parks that are really tired and worn out, right? And they think it's like they just want to say to their family, okay, can you not talk for the next 2 minutes, please?
I'm overstimulated. Like, stop. Like,
exactly.
Dude, I'm like a sixth grade teacher 2 days before spring break. Just,
right.
Silencio.
But why is that so peaceful to us? You know, like, I feel like as I got older, like, I appreciate naps more, but like, I feel like I could just sit in the Animal Kingdom Lodge lobby right now and just like nap and just listen to everything around me. You know, it's like I'm at peace.
Put me up by that little fire pit. I'm
good,
dude.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, yes, with a zebra dome. Oh my
I know there's something about being somewhere where you're sort of out there and in it with everyone, and yet you're sort of by yourself. You're like an observer of all these things. And I think we all have such fantastic memories of these locations that we can just sort of envision like what's happening or what's happened. Like you, Scott, we make up stories for like everyone we see. We don't speculate. We're like, this dude, he's you know, there with his wife's family. It's day 3.
Yeah. He's the main character, as they say.
Yes. He's like, oh, what did I do? And then like this guy, oh, he's the grandpa and he's having the best time because he can see everything that the kids are doing, but he doesn't have to worry about it because he's not the dad, he's the grandpa. And he gets to be like, yes, I'll buy you that 3rd ice cream of the day. And you want that toy? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll get that for you.
Charge it to the
And
room.
then there's the guy you're like, he's been at Martha's Vineyard a little too much this trip.
Charge it to the room. It's my brother's credit card that's on the account. Charge it to the room.
100%. But yes, we make up stories like that about everyone that we run into. And then we often will see kids like doing something that's sort of questionable behavior. We're always like, oh, Dad's watching them. And there you go. You see Dad off to the side somewhere. He's checked out. He doesn't care what they're doing. He just knows they're not right there in front of him, like fighting with each other or asking him for something else. So he's going to, but no, it's such a good time. And you just know everyone's going to make these really fantastic memories. And that's what it's all about. And I think just being able to observe all that and see it, I think is a really cool part of the vacation.
That is so funny. That was one of the best 3 minutes this podcast has ever had right there. That was great. So mine actually kind of piggybacks on that I have on my list, like what I wanted to talk about was that one of my moments too from this trip that I really enjoyed is, so I was staying at Coronado Springs and I was right next to bus stop 2 in the Ranchos, right? So you walked out of my room, I was on the 3rd floor, I go down this 2 flights of stairs right across the parking lot there, and the bus stop, you know, those little like sheltered bus stops there at Coronado. And I would sit out there and just wait for my bus to come. So sometimes you'd wait, you know, like if I was going to the studios, you know, Epcot would come by, Magic Kingdom, Animal Kingdom, Springs, whatever. But it's so funny when you're solo, you kind of sit there. And of course, the road's there, and across the road is kind of like a little lake or lagoon out there in the grass, you know, there's some trees. It's a great people watching though. Cause like you hear people, you know, give some information that's correct about their days that they're getting ready to accomplish. Some information is semi-correct and some information is just God's so wrong. But I mean, and that's the problem as a Disney expert, right? And we're listening to the show. You're probably a Disney expert as well. Like, God, do you jump in and just try to save these people, or do you just let them just learn and, you know, live and learn? And I'm a live and learn person. You know what? Because it's hands-on, right? I mean, if I know it's going to be tragic, I will kind of go over and tell them. If like I know, like if they're going to get on the wrong bus and like, end up, like it's going to be like 2 hours, I will tell them. But I am also kind of, I'm not like a, you know it all kind of person. Like if it's something minor, it's none of my business, right? They're gonna figure it out when they get to the park. Like they'll figure it out. So it's a fine line. But I do like to kind of sit there. But okay, so when I was there, so I really enjoy that environment of sitting there in those little, bus corrals and just waiting for my bus and just listen. I do kind of like to eavesdrop and just listen to the excitement of what everybody's getting ready to do. Like they're going to the springs. They're talking about, we're going to the boathouse. We're going because some people are dressed up more and some people are, in their flip flops, Crocs, going to the Magic Kingdom, whatever. It's fun to hear everybody's excitement. So, but side story with that, I was sitting at that bus area. I don't know what park I was going to. It didn't matter, but there was a family there and the dad, he tells, he's probably a little younger than me. Probably 40 or something. He's probably a lot younger at this point. I still think I'm like 41. But he says to his family, he says, I wonder if there's Crocs in that lake. And so he continues talking, so I'm just like, well, yeah, I've kind of wondered that too. I didn't say it out loud, but I've always wondered, any body of water in Florida, there could be Crocs in it, right? It's Coronado Springs, there's that lake right by the tower. There could be a crocodile in there. I don't know. Or not a crocodile, an alligator. What am I saying? An alligator. It's Florida. It's not a crocodile. It's a gator. Anyway, I don't think nothing of it. I sit down, I'm waiting for my bus. I look up, dude is across the street. Like, dude, he's like over, like on the banks of that water, dude. He's got his feet like in the water. I'm like, we're about to find out if there's a gator in that water. Because either
is going to be on the news.
Either the dude's going to get taken in by him or that dude is going to be like walking across that water like Jesus Christ in like 2 seconds because that thing's going to be chasing him across that lake. It's going to be crazy because
the Florida man story.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know where this guy's from. Like, is he from Ohio? Is he from Wisconsin? Dude, if a gator pops out of that water, we're going to see some magic happen really fast. But he just said it in passing to his family, like, I wonder if there's gators in that lake. And I never gave it a second thought because I think the same thing. Every time I see water, I'm like, I wonder if there's gators in that. But I swear, like, I sat down. I was, just hanging out, drinking a Coke Zero, waiting for my bus. Next thing I look up, dude is in, like, he's, like, his feet are in the water across the street. I'm like, we're about to see it happen. So I'm just saying, like, there's moments like that where you just got to let the magic happen to you, but thank God nothing happened. Because it could have been tragic, but like, holy cow, the guests of the magic sometimes. Whew. But I was just like, and again, I didn't want to say anything, but I'm thinking, Lord, get out of the water. Like, they're real. If there is a gator in there, it's real, and it is really going to take your foot off. At least I don't know. Like, I've never been bit by one, but people have been killed by gators at, Walt Disney World's tragic. I was there when it happened to that kid, and like, it's just one of those things like, holy smokes. I couldn't believe it was happening. This was a full on 40 at least year old man, like the dad over in the lagoon. Unreal. Things you see.
I have the visual too. I know exactly. I know that bus stop.
Dude, it's right across the street, that little lake. Yeah.
It's kind of, it's an interesting setup there. And like, I've always kind of the walk over there. Like, I feel like you can't cross the road there. Like, I feel like bad things happen if you cross the road.
Well, yeah. Nothing happened. I got on my bus came and they were still there and he was still over there. So I don't even know. Who knows? I'm just going to say he went back to his family happily ever after. That's my solution to this story. So Scott, but what I do like is just those corrals, just kind of listening to all besides for that guy, because that guy made me a nervous wreck because I could just picture him. Gator pops out, dude. He is running, skimming the water. Like just walking on water across that lake. But that's what would have happened in my mind's eye. So what else you guys got?
Real quick, back to that though. You were talking about like overhearing people and like, should I tell them? Should I not? It's always best probably not to. But how about the opposite though, where someone like starts telling you stuff that is like so obvious and like,
right?
You just have to be like,
I just
thank you.
Yeah, I politely accept the information and then just kind of let it go.
I know, because I've really gotten my hand smacked a couple times when I've tried to help people. Like, you know what I mean? Even stuff that I now have learned, like I keep it to myself most of the time. Mm-hmm. Unless, like you said, Mike, it's going to cause some kind of, catastrophe, basically. But like you try to help people and just be like, I don't know that you should do it this way or whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah, well, who do you think you are? I'm like, you know what? Never mind. You're right. I do it this way.
My grandpa taught me, don't put your nose where it doesn't belong. So I subscribe to that philosophy unless like I know like dude, they're gonna end
Yes.
up in like Kissimmee if they get on that bus. So
Right.
you know, like that's it. That's where I draw the line. Like, no.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. So go
Agreed.
ahead, Scott.
Yeah, so another one I wrote on my list. And this is something I kind of taken away from the BR Guest podcast because I just love learning about people. You know, like we've met so many great listeners from different parts of the world and hear their story and all that. So I like to do that with cast members too. Like I love talking to cast members. You see like something, small town, Michigan or something like, hey, you know, I'm from Michigan. I'm from like right here. I get out my hand, do the mitt thing. Like where's that town at? Or like, where did you go to school? Or like, do you like Michigan or Michigan State, you know? Or like our international cast members are actually my favorite to talk to because like you learn so much about how they got to the United States or what made them come to Florida and all that. So like, I just love just taking the time to talk with cast members, and especially the best ones for me are like if you're at a lounge or you're sitting like at a bar, and it's easier to have like that one-on-one interaction. You can like talk to them while they're serving or waiting on other customers. Like I just think it's so cool to learn their story and what got them to Walt Disney World.
Yeah, I found that out too. You know, like I said, the only two places I sat down to eat was at Rick's sports bar, and I sat at the bar because I was by myself. Just walked up and I got a steak sandwich with waffle fries. By the way, if you want a good steak sandwich, that's the place to go, Rick's, because they had the sports on, and like you said, the bartender there was super cool. Like, you know,
They all are.
Just you talk to, hey, what are you here for? And I told him about, you know, the races, and he was always filling me up with my Coke Zero. Actually, the Coke Zero was out, so the guy went and got me like bottles of Coke Zero, and just like
cool.
I know he's like super cool, and he just asking about the races because he knew runners were around, but I mean, basically, there's a lot of big conventions going on, and the cool thing is too, like you can also, you know, at a place like that, like a bar, because I don't go to, I don't sit at bars very often. I mean, we don't go out to bars, but you know, like other people, like there were conventioners asking about the races, and like I was asking them, you know, the other guests too, opportunity to talk to them when you're a solo traveler. That was kind of fun. Because
For sure.
I never go to bars, and I definitely don't travel solo, but it was kind of fun to hear like they were there for like this medical convention, and you know, they were doing all their thing, and they're asking about the running. So it was a neat thing.
Sometimes the bartenders will be like the Disney bus drivers sometimes, like, and they'll go a little rogue on some facts, I'll just say, but they're so interesting to talk to. And like, yeah, kind of going back to like being solo, that's a great place to do it because then you're talking to other people at a stool or whatever at a lounge. So that's always a great place to go if you're going solo too.
There was a guy that I didn't, he was about 5 stools down, which I wanted to go get a picture with him, but he left before I finished my meal. He had a Ohio State jersey on with a Notre Dame hat.
Oh,
And I wanted to like go get his story and especially a picture with him, but he got out of there before I could get it.
it was Marcus Freeman's dad because he's like
is
he's
that
a
what it was?
Buckeye season holder, but his son coaches for Notre Dame.
Oh, maybe. So I was like, dude, I gotta get that guy's story. Like he is confused. I was like, what is that guy? What's going on with that guy? But everybody was like liking on the guy. I mean, he was getting all the attention in the world, which is maybe what he was trying to do. So he's probably torn. Okay, well by now he's happy either way. All right, Pam, what do you got? Give us a story.
So many. Like it's so funny, all the different things that we do. But I'm going back to the resort again. I know that's what I talked about the first time, but I will say when I am at a room where I have a balcony or a patio, there is something about spending time in that location that just makes my trip. Whether it's 10 minutes before we walk out the door or an hour or two, like when the sun's setting or in the morning, like Scott talked about, there is really something so appealing about that space. And I think it's something that sometimes I don't really remember, like how much when we have that space, we utilize it, but we do. We'll go out there in the morning and drink coffee. And if you've ever been in a resort that I'm at, you will see me in my pajamas there drinking my coffee because that's what happens every time. Almost no matter what the weather is like, I'm out there, at least for a little bit, just enjoying it. And you get to hear, all the wildlife because there's tons of wildlife at every Disney resort. You get to hear, the resort waking up and whatnot. But then like in the afternoon, when we come back to our room for a little bit, we're out there again, having a drink, having some water, just, sort of taking it in, relaxing. The cool thing is you can usually hear like the background loop at the resort and stuff like that. And then in the evening, when we come back, if we have a view of like the fireworks or some fireworks, we'll sit out there. But even if we don't, we just enjoy that space. And it's the exact same on a cruise. I am incapable of traveling on a cruise without a veranda. Whether I spend 15 minutes out there during the cruise or 15 hours out there, I need to have that. Being able to look out and see it and spend time out there again. There's just something about being able to do that. It kind of feels like your own private space. Again, this must be a recurring theme for me, right? I want my own little area out in the public, though. I want to be out there with everything, but I want it to be my own little area.
Your
So,
little
yeah.
safe place.
Yes, right? You just appreciate that so much.
And it
So.
makes it, even though it's probably adding, 5% square footage wise to your overall cabin square footage, it makes it feel like it's 50% bigger. Like in your head.
100%. Just being able to look out and see the ocean. Like, I can't imagine not being able to do that 24/7 when I'm in my stateroom on a cruise. I just, like, the whole time, we have the curtains open pretty much all the time. To go out there at night when you can't see much more than the waves hitting the ship. It's the same thing for the resorts too.
It's funny, Ben. Me and Mike were just talking about this.
We had this conversation Sunday night.
Seriously?
We had a debate.
Especially for me and Mike's situation, it's really helpful as we travel with like our kids, our daughters. So like I'll just go out on the balcony while they get ready for the day,
Yes.
and I feel like you were just saying, that's my private area, my spot right there. Like I just love that.
Yep. We get exiled to the veranda.
We do. We get sent to the veranda.
It's not a bad place to get exiled to. I mean, it's a pretty sweet place to get exiled to, but that's kind of
it's not a bad place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Grab your phone and get out, and I'm like, okay, cool. Just knock when I can come back.
Just listen to the ocean.
Exactly. That's fine. Okay, so this is gonna be like a power real quick one, because we got just about 10 minutes left, but my last thing that I really, really appreciated was just really taking advantage of Disney transportation when I was down there. And again, as a solo traveler, totally solo this time, not hanging out with Scott and Pam and my family, I got to talk to a lot of people on the transportation, whether I rode the monorail a few times as I was over at the Magic Kingdom. There's one day I just went around a monorail loop and we went to the Lizard meetup at the Contemporary, rode the monorail to that, rode a boat one time. Skyliner I rode a lot, even though I was at Coronado Springs. Of course, the buses I was on a ton. But one hack that I kind of came up with for staying at Coronado Springs, because I was really trying to be smart this time about trying to save my legs for Marathon Sunday and not get as many like steps as possible. If I noticed that I was going to end up towards the back of Epcot when I was leaving Epcot, instead of trying to walk back to the front of Epcot to catch a bus back to Coronado Springs, what I did, I think I was in France. Instead of going to catch the bus back to Coronado, what I did was I just jumped the Skyliner and rode the Skyliner over to the studios and got on. Because if you get off the Skyliner at the studios, you got a really short walk to the bus at the studios. If time's not of the essence, I wasn't in any hurry. I just got off the Skyliner at the studios, walked to the bus at the studios, and rode back to Coronado Springs from the studios. That saved me a ton of steps. Now, it's not faster. I don't think it's any faster. It's probably not it's longer either. I bet it's about the same amount of time. I would get. Scott, you're really good at this kind of thing. I would say by the time you walk from France to the bus at Epcot or riding, because you got to make the transfer at Caribbean Beach, but it doesn't take but a blank. But
it just depends on the time of day, because you can get on the Skyliner really quick if it's like midday or something like that. You know,
it's probably about the exact amount. I'd say it's within 5 minutes either way, maybe 10.
I'd say so, but I like your strategy. I would
save your legs though.
Because if you're deep like in the back World Showcase for sure, like in International Gateway area, absolutely. That's I like that. I like that hack. That's a good move, Mike.
Yeah, it's relaxing. I mean, and you just jump on the Skyliner and just kind of enjoy just a nice little ride over to. And because I jumped. And the thing is, I jumped off at the Riv and picked up supplies for the room because it's a DVC resort. So I got like peanut butter, Pop-Tarts. I got some English muffins, stuff like that, because I didn't have a car to go to a grocery store and I didn't want to like Amazon, that kind of stuff. But what I found out was Caribbean Beach Coronado Springs has all that stuff in their gift shop. Even though they're not a DVC resort, they had English muffins, they had peanut butter, they had all the same stuff at Coronado, which I was like, dang, I should have got it here. But I was just thinking I had to go to a DVC resort because they tend to have groceries more than standard resorts.
But I think that's included with your stay. You know, the Disney transportation. It might not always be our favorite thing. Might take a little longer. Me and Pam always talk about we rent cars, but we still use the Disney transportation even when we rent a car because
100%.
ease of convenience. I mean, I mostly rent the car for. We talked about this, Pam, like the resort to resort. Like, it's really helpful if you're trying to go from one resort to another. Saves you a lot of time. But a Disney boat is one of my favorite things to do on a trip, especially like those wilderness lodge ones, you know, that have like the open seating, like in the front and the back, like the open air. Like, I could just ride that sucker for an hour. You know, I just love and the Skyliner too. Like, I just love all that Disney transportation. That's included with your stay. It's
Absolutely.
awesome.
And when you don't have a car, right, you do have to kind of think creatively, like, how am I going to get from point? And that, you know, for me, like for a Disney nerd like myself, like I kind of enjoy that, like, because it gives you like, okay, how am I going to get? Because I don't have a car. Like, okay, so I got to get to the Contemporary. Okay, I got to go to Magic Kingdom, and I got to catch a monorail or a boat, or I can walk. It kind of takes me back to my very first Disney trips, right? Because remember when they used to give you that big like map, and it would give you like all the options like on a piece of paper. Like, I mean, we can all figure that out in our heads at this point, but I like being able to have to think about that. That makes because the logistics of Walt Disney World is what I enjoy, and that made me happy. All right, Scott, one last thing we got besides transportation. Anything else?
Just a quick one. And this is kind of like you kind of have to control this yourself, but like I love bringing games and just playing them like at the pool or in your room. If you have like a 1 bedroom or like a bigger like space in your room, like you got that nice table that you can just sit at and like and I love taking advantage of that. It's funny, we were talking about that today. My family and I were talking about like, could Old Key West make a second restaurant? Was a conversation we had. That was like a lunch conversation.
That's a good point. Back of the resort.
You know, it's such a big resort. You got Olivia's at the front. Could you put something in the back by like the Turtle Pond area or something? You know, a second restaurant would be nice. But then we got to thinking like, well, they really push Old Key West as like we think the Old Key West travelers are those that actually cook in their room all the time, you know, because like they're like the OG DVC members. So that's where our theory landed as a family. Like, they won't bring a second restaurant in because so many people like to cook in their room there potentially. But I just love that, right? Like, if you have that space in your room, like you're home away from home, right? We love just playing games like at the table or on our balcony. If you have like a 1 bedroom at Old Key West, you got that big balcony with a nice table out there too. So you kind of have to bring some of your stuff for that. Or like, I think the Voyager Club, maybe at the Riviera, they might even have games in there. Some of those like lounge like areas might have games like in the DVC centers and things like that. But it's just so much fun to like, it's something you would do at home, but why not do it at your favorite place in the world too, right? It's just even more magical that way.
But people will never do that on their first few trips, right? Because
No,
they're like, oh
no,
my
you
gosh,
shouldn't.
I'm not spending thousands of dollars to go down and play Uno or
True. It's like a
euchre or
fifth,
whatever.
sixth, seventh kind of trip. Yeah, maybe. But
But
it's like some of my family's favorite memories because we just like laugh and have a great time, and then we can be like, oh, well, let's grab a Mickey bar and do this or whatever. You know what I mean? It just makes it the best, especially if I have friends with you. That's why I always say like cruise. It's almost like a cruise vibe, right? You're just chilling, relaxing, playing games. You got your family and friends with you. It's just, that's what it's all about for me. That's what I work hard for is moments like that.
I agree, but it shows exactly where you are, like in your Disney traveling, when you can relax enough to take 2-3 hours in the afternoon or evening to play a board game.
Right. Like, and there's Wade in the chat. Like our families once we sat out at that on Sunset Boulevard where they kind of had like those 3 counter service areas, all those tables around, and we just played games while we waited for our lightning lane for Tower 2.
That's living though.
Had a margarita.
That's what life's about though. I mean, really, it's about the people you're with and just having a good time. That's it. All right, Pam, close us out. What you got?
So it's funny because Scotty, I'm sort of going the same sort of location, and that is just hanging by the resort pool for some reason. Like, I have it down, and I will say, I read a lot at home. I think I've read more books in my life sitting by a pool at Walt Disney World than ever. Like, if you're taking total hours read, there's just something about it. Like, I take my Kindle, I just focus on, make sure that I'm reading at some point. I load my Kindle with books I know I want to read while I'm on vacation. And I think it's just part of that is because like life gets busy at home, right? I'm happy if I get like 15 minutes to read every day or whatnot, right? But there you can just like sit and intentionally do that. I love it. And then just enjoying the pool. Each pool area has its own soundtrack. is that kind of relaxing thing. It fits with the resort vibe. I just enjoy that so much. There's just so many things about it. Again, I'm watching kids in the water, or I'm watching families enjoying their time there. But it's a big part of your vacation, especially when you're vacationing somewhere like Florida, where swimming just is a part of your vacation. And I love that. I wouldn't trade some of the best times that I've spent have been at a Disney pool. So.
And I think that's a good compliment to being in the theme parks, right? Because the theme parks are very, like, almost overstimulating to your brain, because you got you got the sights, you got the sounds, you got the smells, you're making decisions all the time. Like, you're deciding, is that line, are we going to stand in that line at 60 minutes? Are we going to, what time's lunch? You know, do we mobile order? Everybody's asking you questions, but then, you know, you almost have to take time at the pool to, like, just chill, just sit in a lounge chair, read a book. It gives you that decompression time, because you got a vacation too. I mean, well, it's all vacation, but you got to have that relaxing time too, because I mean, while it's still vacation in the Magic Kingdom, while you're going around and doing the theme parks, there's a lot of decision making happening at the same time for your brain.
There is. Yeah. And the best decision of the day is where I'm going to set my stuff on a chair.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't rope drop the parks. We rope drop the pools.
Exactly.
There's a lot going on. Well, this has been a great conversation, because really what it did for me is, like, I pictured all these things happening. Like, I pictured Pam there. I pictured her at Stormalong Bay when she said that. I pictured Scott playing cards on Sunset Boulevard. I heard the background loop when he was talking there for a minute. I mean, this is what it's all about. I mean, hopefully everybody got to take a little vacation here in January, a little mental vacation, because that's really what we tried to do today. I hope you guys got to do the same, hopefully. So that's where we are. We'll continue it on Sunday nights. What are those little things, kind of back to basics, that you enjoy on your Disney vacation? So let us know. Also over in the clubhouse, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. A lot of new friends joining us over there this week. Would love to see that. So come on over if you haven't. And if you have been missing it, come on over this week. We'd love to have you back. So again, beourguestpodcast.com/clubhouse. Don't forget, our show brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. We'd love to help you get to your favorite Disney destination, whether it's Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, even Adventures by Disney. We can help you do that this weekend. And the best part, no additional cost to you. So check out all the details today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. That one extra click supports everything we do throughout the year. And thank you so much to our Patreon supporters. You guys keep us on the air. I appreciate that so very much. You can support us as well, just $5 a month. And for that support, you get a bonus show called Mike in the Midwest. Come over this week. We'd love to have you. Patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. You can follow us on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike for myself. Scott's at EpScott, EPSCOT. Pam is at TMFLT Pam. And you can also check out Scott at Must See Adventures on YouTube. Scott, what's going on over on the channel that people can check out this weekend?
So it was our first day at Disneyland Paris. That drone show, the electrical night parade, was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So we have some snips of that. And soon I'll be having a full day. You know, we rope drop and we do all the big ticket items and all that, the dining and everything. So we have a fun full day at Disneyland Paris Park. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Little preview. What's the best dining at DLP?
So I didn't really do that much dining there. I don't know. Pam, have you been there? I can't remember. Have you? Or
yes, I have.
Okay. And the dining is different, I feel like, but we did go to like a Coco restaurant, Mike, which was like Mexican food. Yeah. So that was our best meal that we had.
Mexican food in France. It was really good. There you go. Nice.
Mexican meal in France.
Americans eating Mexican in France. Can't miss it.
Dude, that's kind of how all the food was. It was very like Americanized, I thought.
It is odd for sure.
Yeah, it was hard to find some authentic. But I'll tell you though, they had like a food and wine festival kind of thing happening at both parks, so that was kind of cool. So we did a lot of food booths as well, which is really tasty.
All right, so check it out on YouTube. Must See Adventures. Like and subscribe while you're there. Let's grow that channel this weekend. And speaking of the weekend, we'll have our live call-in show Sunday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. Call in, be a part of the show. We have a great time with that as well. All right, we're going to get out of here, and we'll see you on Sunday night. So for Scott and Pam, I'm Mike, wishing you a great weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.
You've been listening to the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. If you have questions, comments, or would like to be a guest on the show, please visit our website at beourguestpodcast.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you real soon.